Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Are y'all ready to go ahead and get started? All right. All right, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. As you know, I'm Sheriff Susan Hutson. We're going to talk about the incident with Lewis Stokes in just a minute. Brought our team here together who will be able to answer questions about what happened, and we want to talk to our community about what we're doing to fix this issue. So we're going to talk about the chronology of events. On Thursday, November 16th at 6 a.m., jail leadership, including Major Biera and Chief Hammonds, received notification that Lewis Stokes was released without proper ankle monitoring. He was taken into custody and brought to the Orleans Justice Center on October 30th, 2023, for domestic abuse battery, child endangerment, and simple assault. His bond was posted on Wednesday night at 7:47 p.m. He was released at 11:55 p.m. that same night. The condition of his release was that he be placed on ankle monitoring and on 24-hour house arrest. However, OPSO staff in our release unit prematurely released him without the ankle monitor. The staff on duty at the time had received a printout of the information recorded in the court's records, but did not follow the order by contacting the monitoring agency for Stokes to be fitted with an ankle monitor before he was released. We have learned from our partners at the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office that shortly after Stokes was released, he assaulted another victim, a different victim than the one he was arrested for. He assaulted that person shortly after he was released around 2 a.m. at that victim's home. He is now charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of domestic battery in Jefferson Parish. At this time, the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is assisting the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office with the search for Mr. Stokes. We are taking this all very seriously, and our staff has taken swift corrective action to ensure that we do not have a massive oversight like this again in the future. And we're going to talk more about that as I'm going to ask our interim Chief of Corrections, Deborah Hammond, to come forward and share more information with you.
Good afternoon. My leadership team and I met to discuss how this error occurred and are taking the necessary corrective actions to prevent further errors of this kind. The staff member involved in the incidents have been formally disciplined for their oversight as it relates to this matter. The release cover sheet will be modified to address if ankle monitoring is required. This will alert the person processing the paperwork to read the documents for additional information. Additional training will be provided for our staff in the processing area, and we're in the process of posting a job for a night supervisor to assist in processing paperwork. Also, immediately after being notified about the release, I personally reached out to the victim of Mr. Stokes, who he was in custody for, to make sure that she was okay.
Thank you, Chief. Really appreciate that. You know, as an agency, we do not just house people in this jail who have committed crimes. We also do extensive outreach and support of the victims and survivors of crimes through our Crime Victims Reparations Unit. We know firsthand the impact of this kind of error and what it can have on a victim's life. It affects their peace of mind and their sense of security, and for that we are truly sorry. The director of our Crime Victims Reparation Unit, Captain Stephanie Minto, is here to share about her work and how we've supported this particular victim for whom Mr. Stokes was arrested originally. Captain Minto.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Captain Stephanie Minto. Once I got the information that took place, I immediately went to Chief Hammond's office, and we found out that the victim that the arrested subject was here for was not the initial victim. I reached out to her, and she said she was safe. I made sure to tell her that if she should have any form of threats, any unanimous phone calls, please call us because we're here for her. The services that we provide here for domestic violence victims, of course, is educational and awareness. We also help with relocation if their lives are at threat. We help with medical expenses, and we also help with lost wages. Once I called her yesterday and I realized that she was safe, I felt better, and to know that we are trying our best to educate domestic victims in the city of New Orleans.
Thank you so much, Captain. Again, I've got members of my staff here to answer questions if you have any. As the Orleans Parish Sheriff, I own this incident. We are working to make sure it does not happen again. It was the first time it had happened under my administration. So we are now have had it happen, and we are moving forward to make sure it does not happen again. And we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Rob, Sheriff, how relieved are you that this victim survived this attack?
You know, I tell you, we do outreach all year long with victims and survivors, and it is really tough work. It's hard work. Isn't that right, Cap? It's really tough work. It matters to us that they're safe and that they feel safe. And to lose that peace of mind or to be put in danger, that's terrible. That is not anything that we ever want to have happen. So we're very relieved that she's safe.
Just when it comes to the bond that was set, if you could tell us the initial bond that was set, and then also, why was he able to be released? Like, why did he receive the bond that he received, if you could talk about that?
I don't have that bond information. We're glad to get you that, but you know, that is set in court. That is not something that the sheriff's office sets. You know, people come into our custody. We by and large do not arrest most people who come in here, and then so we don't also decide when they leave. That's up to a judge.
Definitely, and I know you talked about there being discussions held to make sure that this doesn't happen again. If you could just kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, at our budget hearing, we talked about being at roughly around 60% staffing and how difficult that is with the jail almost at max capacity. So it's important to have more people to do that work. You heard the chief talk about bringing a night supervisor on board to look over things. That's what supervisors do. They don't do the work, they look to make sure it's correct. So we'll make sure that's on board, and then also make sure that we make it easier for our team to be able to identify that an ankle monitor is needed.
And just when it comes to victims, how do we assure that this isn't happening again when it comes to these victims?
Well, I have to say this, there's no perfect organization. Around 4,000 people cycle through the jail every year, and the vast majority of them get out. And like I said, this is the first time it's happened under my administration. It has happened in the past before I got into office. There will be no perfect system, but you have to put systems in place, which is what we're working on right now to really minimize the risk of that.
Yeah, two questions. First off, was the woman who was assaulted in Jefferson Parish the same woman that posted bond for Mr. Stokes earlier?
I believe that is correct, but we, again, that's being investigated by the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office.
And what is now being done on behalf of the Sheriff's Office to find Mr. Stokes?
Yeah, we have here today Lieutenant Lance Wade from our intelligence unit and our manager, Danny Deneau, who's over our Investigative Services Bureau. They have been working closely with Jefferson Parish to provide any information that we have since we had him in custody for a little under a month. Any information we have, we're sharing that information with them and providing any information that we can. Is there anything you want to add to that, Danny?
Yeah, we immediately, okay, I'm Danny Deneau. I'm Chief of Investigations here. We immediately contacted Jefferson Parish, okay, when the incident happened. Jefferson Parish responded to the call initially in 3 minutes when the lady called in. And we have been working with them along with, we have a task force officer that's assigned to the Marshal Service, and he's working diligently with Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. We have Jefferson Parish Strategic Engagement Team, which is a set team, out looking for him, as well as our people out looking for him. So there is really a really good effort jointly, okay, not only with Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, who responded greatly, got the warrants quickly so we could act on them, as well as our federal counterparts. So I think that we're doing as much as we can do. Yes, sir.
What is the latest? Do you believe that he's still in the area? I mean, he was over on the West Bank.
Yes.
You believe he's still there, or
Well, I haven't gotten any stimulus from anything else saying that he's left the area or something. He has family around that area that this incident occurred, and without giving out too much information that would compromise the agents that are out there working, okay, I can tell you that we have nothing to say that he's left the area. No indication of that.
Yes, and I think this may be for the sheriff. Can you tell us how many employees were disciplined? And can you talk about what kind of disciplinary action that is? I know sometimes officers get put on administrative leave, but it kind of sounds like they already work in-house.
Yeah, we know at least one person who acted on the release is being referred for investigation. But we have to look at the entire system as well to see where are there any shortcomings in it. So that is a process that will play out. We'll report back what we found. We've got this interim process in place to kind of correct things. We've got to look at it thoroughly. And so we got to find out exactly everything that went on, and our Investigative Services Bureau under Chief Deneau will gather all that information for us.
So starting today, that interim process is in play when it comes to someone being released?
Yeah, it started, yes, the current change in that, Chief?
Yes. So on yesterday, when the incident happened, I gathered with my team to discuss the issues, and we came up with a plan on yesterday to implement that yesterday, to ask questions to see if a person was required to have an ankle monitor. That will provide that person who's working up the paperwork, as well as the supervisor, to double check to see if it's anything in the documentation that states that. But we started that yesterday immediately.
So Rob, you have another question?
Sheriff, you indicated that you're looking for a supervisor now. Can you say whether or not a supervisor was terminated over this incident?
No, so no one's been terminated. We're not finished with all the investigation yet,
And
no.
do you know what the nature of the suspect's relationship is with the two victims now?
I do not have that information, and I'm not sure if we have any, you do, Chief Deneau?
Would you like me to share?
Yeah, or is that something we can share without compromising
The
it?
first one was obviously what he's in jail for, I believe, was his girlfriend. We are not 100% sure what the relationship is with the victim in Jefferson Parish and Mr. Stokes.
Did you have a question, advocate?
Yes, I did have a question. The employee who's under investigation, how long had they been with OPSO?
Do we have that information, right? We'll get it for you.
And I just wanted to confirm that the woman who posted bail for him on Thursday is the same person that he assaulted?
Has that been
In
confirmed?
Yes.
In Jefferson Parish, so the same person who
That-
assaulted, okay,
That's correct.
all right.
That's not the person he was in custody here for.
Right,
Right.
different person, but it's the same person.
Can we get
who
Paul's
posted
last question?
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff, is there any better communication that can be done between the sheriff's office, the magistrate court, and the company that handles the anchor monitoring? I think that there was some suggestions made by Mr. Dennis that there could be better communication, email and otherwise, so that his company can also play a role in those checks and balances.
Yeah, absolutely. The bail bonds, men and women are a part of the system, and they're partners in this system. And so we absolutely, communication is the key to that. That's one of the reasons that the city is spending these ARPA funds to fix the communication systems between the courts, the clerks, the sheriff, the police department. That's a huge part of it. So one of the issues was, we got paper, right, that you've got to read all the way through. Our employees have to read all the way through while you're trying to cycle 4,000 people through this system. And so that's going to be problematic. If we have a system that'll send an alert, that's easier. It's easier for everybody. And we know to hold them longer, and we can talk with the bail bondsmen to make sure we know when they're going to be there so we can get them released in a timely manner. So communication is absolutely the key.
Are those ARPA funds being used toward a digital system, Sheriff?
It is. We expect our new jail management system to be in place. It'll take about 12 months, so sometime before the end of next year, that'll be in place. So that's why we're putting these interim steps in to make sure that we keep folks safe.
There's so many women who I've personally done stories on who someone would get out of jail and then come back and
That's right.
assault them, or this could have been much worse.
Could have.
If you could talk about that and what steps you want to take.
Yeah, and Captain Minto can attest to this, and I want to give her an opportunity to just talk about, this is hard work for us that we do with our victims and survivors every day. This is not anything we ever want to see happen, because we do try to provide them so much support. Yeah.
As I mentioned before, that the initial victim, while the arrested subject was in our custody, is not the victim that was abused. But if that was the victim, she would have been notified because she would have been registered with VINE, which is Victim Information Now. And that sent out 3 notifications. One is a text, one is a phone call, and one is, the last resort is a letter to the victim. So that victim would have been advised that the person is being released in that way. So we tried to get our staff, our booking clerks, and other supervisors trained how to make sure that that information is in the arrested subjects folder to let them know that a victim is waiting on all those notifications.
Thank you guys so much, we appreciate it.
Thank you.